Sylvia, you had a question?
Well, before you had mentioned that God gives you what you need. And sometimes I was having this conversation with a friend, and he says it's hard to accept or believe that. I accept that actually, and I believe that because many times in my life that has happened. And how do you you cannot get a person to accept that, but how do you get a person to accept that?
That's a great question.
I mean, maybe it's a belief. Maybe it's.
Hashem says in Yeshayahu, "Lo machshavoti machshavotechem v'lo derechechem derechai." My thought streams are not like your thought streams. Your mannerisms aren't like mine. In other words, the biggest tragedy that human beings have attempted is to make God in their own image. God makes us in His image. The worst thing that human beings can do is try to make God in their image. When Stalin and when Marx and Lenin and Stalin says that religion is the source of all contention, they're right. Where most religions are human-made, man-made, and therefore man makes religion that reflects of their own image. So God has to be boxed into the way I understand what God needs to be. Someone once came to the Rav Levi Yitzchak and says to him, "Rebbe, I don't believe in God." Rav Levi Yitzchak told him, "It's okay, the same God you don't believe in, I don't believe in either." Because most people's understanding of a God is some man in the sky, or the big boss in the sky, the bearded, whatever it is. That's human beings' understanding. That's because, unfortunately, most religions are egocentric. There's a saying, if I understood God, I would be God. Emunah, by definition, means it doesn't make sense. It doesn't have rhyme or reason, neither intellectual or emotional rhyme or reason. And nevertheless, I accept it wholeheartedly as being the ultimate truth. For human beings who are limited to time and space, 70, 80, 90, 120 years, Mashiach shall come, we'll be living forever. How much do we actually understand? How much can we actually understand? How much of this physical world do we understand already? 100%.
No.
90%. 70%. Maybe we have no idea. If only in the last 100 years we came to the advent of quantum physics. And again, this is human minds aspiring outside of the box. Imagine all this, everything that we have over here, started with an idea. Somebody's idea. Human beings have created space travels, flight, internet, and everything else. And this is limited human beings. Imagine 100 years from now, 200 years from now. You know, the technology we have today, 100, 200 years ago, if you would have brought this, you would be called the witch, a warlock.
Yeah.
We understand barely about this world. We haven't explored the oceans, deep beneath the surface on the micro level, space, the galaxy. What do we already understand? Pretty advanced for us, but what do we already understand? We must accept that we don't know. The Rebbe once told a great scientist by the name of Professor Velvet Green. He was a senior scientist at NASA. Made tshuva. He worked on the Apollo missions and so on. Made tshuva at the age of 40. When he came deep into tshuva, he came to the Rebbe and asked him, Rebbe, should I leave NASA and go to yeshiva? And the Rebbe told him, no. Stay in NASA, and every project you work on, being that the Baal Shem Tov taught that for everything we hear and see, there is in God's world, by divine providence, Hashem is showing this to us, there's what to learn of how to serve Hashem. Then learn from the projects you're working on. And there's many, like he had many insights he brought to the Rebbe on different projects and so on and so forth. What he learned of how to serve Hashem. He came to the Rebbe once with a question. NASA sent probes with the first missions into outer space to discover extraterrestrial life. And they didn't find any. So he asked the Rebbe, should we stop looking? Is it a waste of money? Is it a waste of resources, waste of time? And the Rebbe says, no. You're a scientist. You must continuously look. You got to keep on, even if you didn't find, keep on looking. And he said later on, the Rebbe didn't say there is or isn't. There's a letter that I saw from the Rebbe. The Rebbe says yes, there are extraterrestrial life that actually are mentioned in the Torah. But what the Rebbe did tell him is, if you stop looking, you're limiting God. To say there isn't any extraterrestrial life means God couldn't have done it. In other words, to accept that you don't know. And nevertheless, you're going to keep on. A good question could motivate you, as we spoke about many times. A good question could spurn and motivate and propel a lifelong journey. And it's okay to live with a question. It's when you stop asking is a problem. Or when you let a good question interfere with doing a good thing. I always advise my students, don't stop asking. But never let a good question stop you from doing the right thing, the good thing. Let it push you, let it propel you. Listen, people who go through trauma and pain, it's hard to tell them it's from God. And we are advised not to do that. For people with their trauma and pain, you hug them, you kiss them, you sit with them, you provide for them. As without Rabbi was asked, Rabbi, you said that everything from Torah, everything in this world comes derived from Torah. What about atheism? Whereas atheism, how could it be derived from Torah? It's very simple. When one sees a person in pain, your job then is to be an atheist. He says, what do you mean? He says, don't come and tell them that, don't worry, God is going to help you. This is for your own good. This is your tikkun. That's ego. There is no God in that moment. It's only you. What can you do to help? So when somebody goes through trauma and pain, don't say, oh, God and God and God. You know, when the Baal Shem Tov taught, and we spoke about it, I believe, two lessons ago, the Baal Shem Tov taught that a neshama comes into this world for 70 to 80 years to do a favor for another Jew, begashmiut, physically and spiritually. Implying that the soul could be here for an entire lifetime just to do one favor for a Jew, physically and spiritually. That's the merit. And all of your life just brought you to that central point. Once the Rebbe was discussing this, and the Rebbe asked a question. How do you know which Jew and how do you know which favor? And the Rebbe answered the question immediately. You don't, on purpose. So you'll treat every Jew and every favor as though this is the very reason you're here. But then the Rebbe explains the wording is precise in the teaching. The Baal Shem Tov says the neshama descends into this world for 70, 80 years to do a favor for a Jew materially and spiritually. First, materially. Before you speak to them about their spirituality, do you keep Shabbat kosher and this and this? Did you eat enough? Do you have food? How's your rent? How's your clothes? What do you need right now? Do you have money for Pesach? Tell me, what can I do? What could I do? And don't worry, I'm here. This is my entire reason. And if they won't accept, if you tell them directly, find an indirect way to do it for them. Bichlal, the Rebbe in Yutas Kislev of 1983 said something so powerful. So powerful. Tzedakah doesn't mean that a Jew comes to you and asks you for money or for help, for resources, and you generously give. That's not tzedakah. Because by the time the person came and asked, they're already broken. They had to break their dignity. Tzedakah means you are proactive with it. You see a Jew needs, go out of your way to make sure they get it. And sometimes even luxuries. We're not talking about bare minimums. As we learned today morning, Kol Yisrael bnei melachim hem. Every Jew is royalty, a prince or a princess. You give them luxury. Don't think for a second you dispense them. Okay, I give him $1, I give him $100, I give him. It's okay. It's not my job. I'm not the bank. This is the entire reason why my neshama is here. Literally. So before you speak to them about spirituality, if they went through trauma, if they went through pain and everything else, make sure you hug them. Make sure they know they're loved. Make sure they feel safe. Make sure they feel good and comfortable. Once that happened, and the animal soul could take away its claws in his fangs, and it's calm again, or in what's that called? What's the method that just jumped out of my head? The thing we spoke about it last in the parenting class. I forgot the methodology itself. I'm sorry, but it teaches how to look at children, but you can look at human beings as well. We operate on three lights: green light, blue light, yellow light, and red light.
Is it game are you talking
No. Human beings. I'm talking about the way we operate. The name just jumped out. It says like this. When you see a human being, when a child, generally they're in green light. Green light means you could talk to them, they're receptive, they're listening, malleable. They're ready to accept anything you have to say. They're happy-go-lucky at this moment. There are no defense mechanisms.
Does it have to do with the aura?
No, this is a psychological thing. But if something triggers them, they go into yellow light. Now they're not receptive anymore. They're not receptive. Anything you're going to say right now is going to be taken through a filter of suspicion. Keep on talking, even logic, you're going to get into red light. Red light, they're not receiving it all. The biggest mistakes parents make, and by the way, this is not just parents to children. When you see somebody acting out as an adult, this is their inner child that's wounded. When you see someone else's red light, the thing you try to do is we try to be logical. We try to be logical with it. So now it's time to be logical. Your logic's not going to work here. Right now they're in the red light. They're not receiving anything. As a matter of fact, anything you're saying right now, they're taking, not just with a grain of salt, they're taking it obstinately and they're taking it as an attack. At that moment, stop. Kneel down, get on the floor with them, hug them, put yourself on the same level as them, speak very calmly, be very calm. You have to give them back into the green light. To speak to someone when they're in the red light, it's useless. And yet we keep on trying for no reason, butting heads, and thinking, well, something's wrong with them, they're not listening to me. Really, something's wrong with you, you keep on speaking. When you don't need to be speaking right now. You need to hug. You need to sit on the floor with them. You need to act silly. Very simple.
Let me ask you one more question. Do you think that people you meet in this life, you meet them again in future lives?
I'm not an expert on lives. I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert.
Because Jewish people believe in reincarnation.
We do.
Right?
Yeah. I'm not an expert in that. It's very plausible. It's very plausible.
A while back I was reading on that.
Do you have the letter of Rabbi that is extraterrestrial?
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of it?
Yeah, as soon as my books come back up, I'll be able to send it to you.
Reincarnation.
Yeah.
So the other one is you talked about us having expectations leading to disappointments. So if we dealing with a person who is Jewish, we intuitively have some anticipation or maybe expectation that the person will understand commandments and will try to do something along the lines
Why?
of commandments. Jewish person.
Why?
We'll get to it.
No.
Right.
Why? Why do you expect that?
Anticipate.
Anticipate the person from
Even if it's a wrong
that's your ego. You know, there's a saying: we don't love people, we love the images of the people that we have. The same applies to God. People don't tend to love God. They love the image of God that they have. And when God inevitably goes out of that boundary, like the Holocaust, like October 7th, when we don't understand him, well, then there can't be a God anymore. The same goes with our love with human beings. We don't love the person. We love what we want them to be, what they need, and when they're not, what's your expectations? You do what? Do you know the person? Do you know their genetics? Do you know their ups? Do you know their family genetics, their epigenetics, their trauma, intergenerational trauma? You know the tikkun of the neshama. What do you exactly know about the person? You have expectation from the person. Just because it would be easier for you that this person followed, well, that's easier for you. Who said that this is what God put them? If God wanted them to be frum, God would have raised them in a frum setting with no epigenetics of family trauma or anything like that. And yet, of course, when there's no trauma, there's no pain, there's no incongruency, and your family is hunky dory, everything's amazing. Of course, why not? It's like taking off of work. It's like not going to work on Yom Tov when it's Sunday afternoon. Okay, so of course I'm gonna.
So can I formulate my question? Like, for example, there is a commandment to respect and love parents. So should a parent not have disappointments when the child not loves?
Absolutely.
Not have.
Absolutely. The Torah says we have no right. We have no right to that. To nachat ruach or anything like that. As a matter of fact, when the child disobeys the parents and openly disrespects the parent, this is a signal to the parent. What did I raise them in a way that they don't understand who I am and who they are? I saw this today. I saw a great point, reel from Dr. Gerber Mate. A woman said that she was molested as a child, and
she never brought it up.
And she never brought it up. And how did she overcome the trauma? And Dr. Mate pointed her to a direction that is so powerful. It was like, well, that's not the real trauma. Yeah, it's very traumatizing to be molested. But imagine it was your daughter and she was molested. Would you like her to come to speak to you? She says, yes. And what if she didn't? I'll be very hurt because that. It says, well, what would that tell you about you if she can't come speak to you? That she doesn't feel safe with me? He says, that's the trauma. You know, the first commandment, the first of the 10 plagues was blood. The Midrash, one of the explanations in the homiletic level, why was blood so psychologically powerful? Until the point that the Jewish people started screaming to Hashem, took a while. But it was when Paro started cutting babies in half and draining their blood into the Nile, so 300 babies per day, so he could bathe in their blood, because the stargazers told him that this will heal your tzarat. Only then they started screaming. But at that point, until that point, 300 babies per day. The Jewish people walked by the Nile the next morning, and the water was clear again. Because water flows. And the blood was there yesterday, and it basically became clear. And the Jewish people were so taken aback. How could it be that our baby's blood is there and all of a sudden it's clear again, like nothing happened? The Midrash says something so powerful. This is why Hashem brought the blood as the first plague to the Nile. To show the Jewish people, I know what you went through. I recognize your traumas. I recognize your pain. You know, the hardest thing for someone who goes through trauma is not able to speak about it to anyone else, because no one will get them. And that's the thing. The hardest person, that's what Dr. Mate was telling her. The worst part of the trauma is feeling that I have no one to talk to about this. I'm all alone in this world. And that trauma preceded the other trauma and actually allowed the other trauma to occur. Because if there was someone who was a good role model, connecting and enabled a fluid connection, then the person immediately could have sought help and felt safe enough to come and tell the parents, this is what's happening to me. So, I'm going to tell you like this, Reb Chaimke. When a child is disrespectful to the parent has to look, and I'm talking from experience. I'm telling you from me.
Rabbi, I wasn't specifically talking about this mitzvah, just in general.
I'm talking about every mitzvah. Look at it holistically. If a child is disobeying the parent, something is wrong in the parent's input to the child. Having expectation from someone else is setting up for failure. Knowing who the person really is and helping them rise upwards, that's what we're commanded to do.
It's usually quite impossible to know who the person really is, whoever that is.
No, it's not quite impossible.
Maybe for you.
No. If you listen to the person, if you talk to the person, the previous Rebbe says, regarding the Haggadah, when he introduces the four sons, Chacham Omer, Rasham Omer, the wise one, what does he say? The wicked, what does he say? The previous Rebbe says, Chacham, how do you know who's the wisdom? Mahu Omer. Listen to what he is saying. You want to know what wisdom is? Listen to this person. Russia, you want to know, so Friedrich Rebbe says, if you want to know the inner disposition of a person, listen to the words. Listen to the sequence of the words. Listen to the pattern of the words. These are not incidental. Chassidus explains that the neshama chooses the exact letters and exact patterns of the words to express itself. Every letter, every word means like an absolute note in the symphony of life. Sometimes we just before I say he said, don't take it personally, but you get to know who the person is so you can help them. If this is the words that a person is using, they're saying these patterns for a reason. This is what their deep depth is feeling. Unfortunately, many times we dismiss a person for what they say, and we say what we judge about what they're not saying, or what they should have said, what they could have said, what they did. Come on, listen to the person. I've been counseling couples and families since 1998. I've yet to see a couple or family who's incongruent, but never expressed what they actually wanted, what they actually needed. Often what I do find is they don't listen to the other person, or just dismiss it as though, you don't really want this, or this is nonsensical, or this is not really me, I'm not going to do that. And the person said it again and again, and then louder, and then with more this and more that, and eventually they stop saying. But it's not that they didn't say it. That's exactly it. So to say why do we look at a frum person and a thing that could have been maybe in the Beis HaMikdash time, in the time of but listen, we are people with a lot of history, and we're miraculous by there's no question. Our entire existence and our entire being here is nothing less than a miracle. We have we transcended every single rule in nature. Having said that, Baruch Hashem, we don't keep tabs or hold grudges, because if that would be the case, we would be the most broken people in the world. But also, and that sentiment is a little bit of epigenetics that mixed into us that happened to seep in trauma. KGB and Nazism and the persecution and this and the expulsions and everything else. Yeah, it made us a little weary. So to understand that you're dealing with a human being, you're dealing with thousands of years of history. As each human being is literally a microcosm, a small world.
Reduce less drama.
And that's it. And therefore, to have expectations, that's your ego. To say, I would like to help this person upwards. I realize where the person really is at. It's like a teacher like me coming to somebody who's an F student and expecting them to have at least a D or at least a C and how much more so an A. And then being frustrated where they're constantly getting it wrong. Rather me looking at this after, this is where they're holding. Maybe they have family issues, maybe they go through issues, whatever it is. And therefore I have to get down to their level. I have to change my expectations. Give them the material. It's called differential learning. To give them the material on the way that they can understand it and maybe expect less than what someone who's a seasoned learner, who has a Haki-Dori family. Because the aim is not to make him an A, maybe the aim is to make him feel good about coming to school in the first place. And that would be tantamount to an A for this year. Rather, as a teacher, no, I want all my students to be A's, because then that reflects off of me. If I have a student who has an F, that shows I'm a failure of a student. Therefore, no, that's a stupid teacher. It's not an educator, it's not a mechanech. So to answer your question, no, there are no expectations. Expect that whatever you see in congruency to someone else is God putting them in front of you to invite you to develop a talent, an ability within yourself that you never needed to until you got to this point. Until you press this person and you press that button. Because only when they press a button did you need to now come up with a new coping strategy you never needed to. But that's why God put this person in front of you. And how much more so if it's cyclical. Otherwise, you're not a worshiper. Not you. A person.
So then it sort of leads to an overarching principle of being patient and not being angry, being understanding, right? I mean, that comes out.
Be like the Torah says, you should walk in Hashem's path, emulate God. So sages, how could you emulate God? So it says,
Not literally. Not literally.
Not literally.
Literally, he says, Mahu rachum, afatat yerachum. Just like Hashem, what the Hashem is merciful, you too be merciful.
Right.
Hashem is visits the sick. You should, in other words, emulate and give whatever Hashem gives you because you have a piece of God in you.
But not to have a God complex.
You have a God complex. Of course, we have a God complex. We're each and every one of us. We're a piece of God. Of course, you're. If you don't have a God, Yosef.
I have a God in me, but I don't have a complex.
You have more complex than most people. You're Israeli. Come on.
Rabbi, and to follow up on what you were saying before, you talked about us just scratching the surface about the understanding of the physical world. It just occurred to me that, say, in the physical world, humans live, say, God willing, up to 120 years, right? There is
According
almost
to the government, up to 360.
there is, according to who?
To the government, Social Security, people. on
Social Security,
360.
right? So that's only
They
since
removed
the
them
time
before they know they
since
removed.
the time Elon Musk came in. But so it occurred to me that,
No more.
with the exception of sort of structures, we as humans never created anything that can last over 100 years. Like no machinery can really last. Humans can.
We
last.
created one thing. I could tell you off the top of my head. Music.
Okay, no, I'm saying physical structures.
See, maybe not physical, because anything physical either withers away
That's
or
what I'm
becomes
saying.
obsolete.
That's what I'm saying. So
But music transcends. Art transcends.
literature too.
Literature.
So, right? So
In other words, the more ethereal we become,
the more what?
ethereal, the higher we climb, the more permanency there is within the confines of this world.
So physical structures we create do not last that long. But then I heard you said not 120 years. You said the soul comes here for about 70 or 80 years. Did I hear it right?
Yeah.
So why is it the discrepancy between 70, 80, and 70?
That's about the Baal Shem Tov route.
Oh, I see.
Okay, Kinrach. Shavua Tov.
I have to tell you that very often often your classes come in my conversation. Rabbi said, and that's, I have to tell you, I learned a lot.
Baruch Hashem. Welcome back. Welcome back. We miss you, Sylvia. Okay, don't forget the trip to the Rebbe's room is Monday, next Monday. We have to meet there at 3 p.m. If people need rides, let us know. We'll have rides. If anybody needs shmor matzah, let me know. The Sdarim over here, we have a seder. We go to the Rebbe's room next Monday.
By when? The shmura matzah. Please tell us by when.
I got you already.
You already
texted
did?
me. I got it
so
today.
I can take it
No,
from you?
no, I don't. I bought it today. I paid for it today. I'm paying
Okay.
today. But I'm picking up Sunday or Monday. However, so we go to the Rebbe's room on Monday at 770 Eastern Parkway. If anybody needs shmor matzah, I bought the shmor matzah today. I'm going to pick it up on Sunday, so I'm going to go back there again. So if anybody needs shmor matzah, we're having a seder here in the shul the second night of Pesach. Everybody's welcome. Please register so we'll know how to for the provisions. But it's going to be an interactive seder. Everybody's going to get a part. You could say a poem, a story, acting it out, whatever it is. Chayav vadam laharot. A person has to show himself as he's going out of Egypt. The Friday night before Pesach, we're having a meal over here. We're going to have a meal here. For those of you who don't want to cook at home or don't want to contaminate, quote unquote, your home, don't worry. We'll bear your contamination and clean it up. And the first night of Pesach, if anybody wants, I have a seder in my house, 37 Bellingham. You could come and join us and so on and so forth. Huh?
And then the replay the next day here.
And then second night over here. Yeah. No leftover. We keep on.
Rabbi, I need a ride for Monday to go to the Lubavitch.
Okay, the call me or text me. I'll arrange it for you. Okay.
Okay, but how do I do that?
My number 516-974-3032.
It's
It's somewhere.
online.